society's trying to bring us into being all the same, but we're not, and we're extremely different. And so when everybody comes into my clinic, I treat them as blank canvas. I don't go, okay, well, you know, this person is the same as everybody else. Every program I give people is individually tailored to them.
Welcome back to episode 2 of Getting Amongst It. I'm Eamon Drum, and today I'll be joined by Darran Byrne Ryan, which is the director of DBR Therapy, which he's an expert in the sports massage therapy, mobility and rehabilitation. Like always, please leave a like, comment, share and subscribe, and let's get into it. This is Eamon and this is Getting Amongst It. Darran, welcome.
Hi, how
Thanks for doing this. Nice to meet you. Darran, guys, is from DBR Therapy. So, Darran, just tell everybody about your business, your location, and where you're from.
Okay, so my name's Darran Byrne Ryan, and my company is DBR Sports Therapy. I'm based in Kimmage in Dublin 12. I've been there for kind of 2 years now.
How are you finding the location in Kimmage? All good?
Kimmage is actually great. Originally, when I started 4 years ago, I hadn't a clue what I was doing. So I asked a guy I went to school with. He has a CrossFit gym, and he said, well, why don't you email every single club around and try get in and show them what you're doing and see if they have a room for you, if they like what you do, come on board with the club. So I did that, and I got a few replies back, and one of them was Ashbrook Tennis Club, and met the club captain down there, fixed his neck. He went, this is great, we'd love to have someone like you on board to be associated with a therapist like you. So I was there for 2 years. And then a client of mine actually told me that there was a room for rent in Kimmage. So I went down, had a look at it. It was perfect. And I wouldn't look back now. I'm 10 minutes from the M50, 10 minutes from town. I didn't even know there was a Kimmage before this.
And there's parking on site and people are easy access to you. And
that's one of the best things. It's free parking. And a lot of people are always going, oh my God, you know, do you have to pay for parking and all? So,
what's the opening hours?
So I am... First appointment, I'll take in at 8 in the morning, and normally I like to be out of the office by 8, but obviously for emergency appointments, I will stay later. So
stay later, yeah. Committed to the job.
Well, that's it.
Savage. How do people get in contact with you, Darran?
Most people find me online on my website. It's dbrtherapy.ie, but I'm on social media as well, just like everyone else, and that's at dbrtherapy.ie on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, don't really use it, but you can still have a little stalk of me there. DM me if you want to get an appointment.
Perfect. So let's go right back to the very, very start, where tell me about your fitness journey and how did you end up in the sports and massage therapy?
Wow. Well, I suppose
go right back.
We're gonna go all the way back.
Yeah.
Okay. So
let me put it in context then a little bit. Then why did you go into it initially? Why did you choose that road for sports massage therapy?
I suppose I kind of fell into it in the sense that it all started back when I was in 6th year in school.
Cool.
I was a skinny guy in school.
If you can remember that bar back then.
That's it. Are you trying to say I'm old? But it was 15 years ago now, you know. So I was a skinny guy in school. At 18, at 5'11", I was 7.5 stone.
Really?
Yeah, like skin and bone. And I suppose getting into the gym I got in due to insecurities.
Okay.
You know, body image. I was taught, and it's one of these funny things, you know, I was like, okay, stick on a bit of muscle. All those rugby guys are pretty jacked and they seem to get the girls, and maybe I might get the girls
I want a girl.
But it's true, and that's, I suppose, why I got into the gym. So I was the school gym in St. Michael's College they had a serious gym. I think it's even better now, but I was in there every single morning at 8 o'clock, and it might even been earlier, and I got my workout in, started to stick a little bit of muscle on, and became and developed this love of the human body, movement, and what you can create through lifting weights. Okay. So it kind of started all through that, and then from there, you know, it breezed through different courses in college. I actually did architectural technology for a year. I did that out in Closhadulic in Raheny, and that would have been going on into Wolverhampton then to finish off my degree, but I didn't want to be a CAD monkey for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So I moved on to something else within the construction industry then. I went down to Waterford and did quantity surveying for a year, and then went, oh no, I don't like that. And
did
then
the crash happen at that time?
It didn't. It was on the way.
On the way.
So like during that summer then, after I dropped out of college, I kind of decided, I was like, oh shit, maybe I do like it. So I went back and I did first year again. Went back to first year and went, no, actually, I don't like it.
This isn't your path.
No. And I think at that time, my parents were like, Darren, get a fucking job.
Figure it out, man.
And I was like, oh, shit. So, worked for a while. And then, because the gym was always prevalent, I kind of thought, oh, maybe, personal training or something like that would be the direction I'd like to go. And my mom found me a personal training course in Sallynoggin College. So I think that was her little hint going, right, we've got to push you this direction.
Did you always have was it going for the gym or the type of exercises? Was it always there in the back of your head, playing on your intuition, kind of going, oh, my instincts are telling me go for the gym? Or is it a case of is your mum directed you more so? Did you have that instinct to constantly go back into the gym?
See, I was always in the gym, but I never really thought of it as a career until it was prompted to me, because I suppose at this stage, doing college 3 times, my parents were kind of going, well, what's going on here? And they were like, they must have been thinking, okay, well, what does our son like?
He loves Freshers Week.
That's it. He's got to like something, and he's always in the gym. So let's see, about that. And it was just literally my mother Googling, and she found it, and I fell into that.
So that was the first course you'd done, was it, or the one that stuck to you the most?
It was 3 years, and the final year being sports massage therapy and personal training, and that's what I ended up qualifying in.
Okay. You initially, remember we spoke on the phone, you did initially do a bit of physiotherapy. Remember that? And you decided not to go down that road.
So while I was in Sallynoggin College, I applied to be a mature student in UCD in physiotherapy. And after I applied, I actually withdrew my application and kept with the sports massage therapy, mainly because I didn't like the coursework that physiotherapy did. It's very clinical based, it's very hospital based, and in my mind, I didn't want to be, and I'm probably very wrong about how it is, but I didn't want to be helping people out of beds, with hip replacements and knee replacements. It seemed very slow into what I wanted to do, and I wanted to help.
Did you feel like you wanted more of a challenge as such? After a while of doing the types of in-hospital patients, kind of hips, slow moving type patients, did you feel like doing the sports and massage therapy, that was going to offer you more of a challenge, open up more kind of doors to work with different types of people?
Ideally, yeah. And I think it was the sports aspect in it that really I liked. And sports, I think when most people do personal training and things like this, they always aspire to, I'm going to be personal training athletes. And that's not really the case. I've only worked up to training, to working with higher level athletes now after 4 years being in business, but it took a bit of time.
For 4 years you're rocking on. So then talk me through a typical day for you.
So a typical day for me, that's kind of a hard one, because my day varies so much.
Tell me about it.
I suppose work wise, I book everybody in blocks. That's how I do it. And I'll always get in 50 minutes before my first client. Every client is very different, but the main thing that everybody has in common is that everybody is active in some way, and their injury or their pain is restricting them from doing something that they want to be doing. Now, whether that is, competitive powerlifting, training for a marathon, or simply, Mary down the road, her knees are sore and she can't get out for her usual 2K walk with the dog. So pain is exasperating, and it does take away, quality of your life. And I think the big thing now these days is that there is, more people being aware that their health is so important, because, back in the day, we're a great nation of, it'll be grand. Sorry, it won't be grand. And we seem to put more emphasis and more quality into our cars. So I know before we went live here, we were talking about cars, and we were talking about things going wrong with our cars. Now, both of us haven't been very lucky with our cars.
I've never bought a good car.
But when you don't get a good car and something goes wrong with it, just like we were saying, you're down in the mechanic, or you're doing something with it, or you change it. Now, unfortunately, we can't change ourselves. This is our body, and we don't really look after it. When the engine light goes on in our car, we go, fuck, mechanic, okay, ring him up, listen, engine light's on. When our engine light comes on, we don't do anything.
Yeah.
we leave it. Sure, it'll go off. Sorry, the engine light doesn't go off.
So you're dealing with clients so tell me about the clients you actually deal with then. So the clients that you deal with, do they come to you only when it comes to the point where they have an injury, or are you able to get in there before something else kind of happens as such?
Unfortunately not. So most people will come to me because they're in a state of emergency.
Okay.
After working with me, what I get people to do is work within a state of urgency. So again, if we come back to the car analogy, you don't service your car because there's anything wrong with it. You service your car so nothing does go wrong with it. And we need to do the exact same thing ourselves. We need regular maintenance. So that's why I encourage regular once a month appointments with clients. And I say, look, if there's nothing wrong with you, still come in. We'll find something that potentially could go wrong with you so that you don't come back to the same point that you were when you originally came in, injured.
Yeah. So you have the clients that you'd kind of deal with, are they of varied backgrounds, or are they kind of all sports people as such?
It's so varied. I mean, we're talking youngest client could be early teens, and then my oldest client is 82.
Wow.
Yeah.
What type of when it gets to that age of 82, what type of preventative stuff measures would you be doing, or what areas that they mostly vulnerable in?
Well, they hurt their shoulder moving marble slabs out of a fireplace.
Right,
and they were quite annoyed that they couldn't mow the grass anymore because their shoulder was sore.
Yeah.
And you know,
the pull cord on the lawnmower can really throws it right back. It's hard to do at that age. Yeah,
but that's it. So, and it's these little things that I see people coming in, and I'm like, wow, in their 80s, and they're still doing what they do. And I even look at my own grandmother before she passed. It was only in the last 6 months things went downhill, but before that, she lived with my granddad, and they lived unassisted together for 36 years. They lived in an old Georgian house, but had loads of steps to go upstairs. They were up and down every day. Even in their 80s, lived in Dunleary. They were up and down the town. No problem, because they kept on moving all the time.
Do you think we're not doing enough of that?
Oh, we live in a society of sedentary people.
Really?
We're all professional couch athletes.
Yeah, you mentioned, just guys, while you are listening, we did mention that one of the things was we were very couch athletes. So would you have a lot of people who come in and kind of go, they want to make big changes right now, but then you realise, well, actually, let's just baby step it all the way, and then before you make a dramatic change, maybe look at making a small change first? Would you agree with that analogy?
There's no magic pill. There's no quick fix. And
you sound fucking stupid there.
Anyway. And it's true. And social media wants you to believe that if you go on and you're like, listen, pay me this and 6-week program, you'll feel like this. It's all bullshit. Things take time, and you need consistency and measurability as well. So all these kind of, even like the diets and 6-week transformations, you can transform, but what about continuing on afterwards as well?
Okay. Let's move on to, and guys, remember, if you do have any queries, I'll put up all his Darren's details, and you can forward it on to him. But what are the best stretches we should be doing on a daily basis? Is it best to stretch first thing in the morning, or going to bed at night? Or does that really have any influence?
I think it does. So what I have is, and I try to encourage it, is it's called undo the day. Because most of us now these days are sitting at desks. I suppose if you go back 100 years, how many desk jobs were there? Most jobs were very labor intensive, moving the whole time. You go back 10,000 years, we had to move for food. If you didn't move, you died. We don't need to do that these days. The most activity most people get these days is wrestling a shopping trolley around Tesco.
Oh yeah, those trolleys can be heavy.
They can't. You got a wonky wheel. It wants to go left. You're pulling it right.
So what are the stretches then we should be doing then?
Well, see,
what are the key areas for someone who doesn't have any interest in keeping fit or active, but they might have? What would you say to them and say, right, well, if that's not your thing, but maybe do focus on stretching. Is there any certain parts of the body couple of areas that you should be stretching on to keep things loose enough?
Well, definitely, I
suppose you're going to get people like that.
I think loose is one of these things that we don't want to be, because
fucked up again.
Exactly. Well, no, I have yoga people coming in and they're like, well, why am I injured? And I'm like, well, because you're stretching the whole time. That's great. You've got great range, but you're weak. You've no strength, and that's that's another thing that we need as well. So what mobility is flexibility and strength.
Okay.
And that's really what I'm encouraging. So yes, I have loads of go-to stretches, what I get people to do, but I've also lots of go-to activations, what I get people to do as well. Okay. And the main ones, what we're doing is we're getting people out of that sitting posture. So knees are at 90, hips are at 90, everything's locked at 90. And then the next thing then is the shoulders normally slope forward, the head's forward as well. So we have to undo all these little things. So the first thing would be, and these are really basic, and it's so basic that people go, no, that won't work. And then the other crowd would be like, that's so basic that you don't know anything. But these things work,
go on,
and they're measurable. And I've given those people, and it works time and time again. And it's stretch your quads. There's a stretch called a couch stretch. Okay. And then we'd go on to another good yoga stretch called lizard stretch. Now, from then, because we're sitting all day, if you sleep at night 8 hours and you fall asleep on your arm, when you wake up, thing's dead. So you're shaking it out and you're moving it, trying to get blood back in. Well, it's the same thing when you're sitting on your arse all day. Now, a lot of people go, oh, inactive glutes and all, but they do because they're in a stretch state, and also you're compressing them. So a simple way to get them fired up again is a hip bridge. Really easy. And we're going to hold that in an isometric contraction for about a minute. If you can, we'll go for 2 minutes. And that's good just to get all that firing up. Next thing then, we're talking about into the front of into our core. Good one to get that fired up is a plank. I actually prefer a side plank rather than the regular front plank, because most people, when they do a front plank, their whole back, their lumbar is in a thing called lumbar lordosis, which is that curve. Okay. So people find it very hard to get into good postural positions while doing that front plank.
You have this all on your website as well, or on Instagram as well.
I've got so much information on Instagram.
So make sure, guys, you do check in. Sorry, I don't want to cut across, Darren, but make sure you guys do check the page, because all this is up there. And again, contact them. So sorry, we were moved on. So we have that lumbar state, the back is in. Is that common on everyone?
Really common. Okay. And that happens mainly through, if you want to go really simple, the quad's pulling tight, so it pulls you into an anterior hip, and then the glutes just not pulling back. Now, I know that's really simplified, and there's so much more to it than that, but if you want to just break it down that everybody can understand it, that's it. And it's because we're sitting down all day, so the body gets used to sitting into that 90-90 kind of position.
Okay. And when you move up the body then towards shoulders and the neck area, I know I suffer from leaning forward. So talk me through how someone, when it comes to relieving that tension people get, and they're squinting, they're leaning forward, they're looking at a desktop monitor all day. What's the best approach for someone just to try and loosen up the joints and back of the neck as such? So
if we're talking now from the belly button up, next thing would be, because we're generally kind of slouched over, and it's almost like we're de-evolving back into the gyms again, because we're a bunch of knuckle draggers. So what we need to do is we need to stretch out the chest. Now, there's one little muscle under your main chest muscle, your pectoralis major, and it's a little one called your pec minor, and that has a great habit of pulling everything in a thing called internal rotation, which is that slope shoulders, those anteriorly rotated shoulders. So we need to stretch that out and free that out. Obviously, on the mic, we can't
demonstrate it, just we can't.
But
go on, keep going.
We can online. So if you look up any kind of chest stretch online, you'll find how to do it. From then, we need to activate all our back muscles, and that's simply done with like a rubber band that you can buy online for a tenner, and you can do things called rows. Really, really simple. Moving up into the neck, just like you were talking then, the forward head posture. What we would do then, there's a little muscle in the neck called your levator scapulae, and that starts in at the corner of your scapula, which is your shoulder blade, and runs up into your neck and connects into C1, C4, and that's normally the headache muscle as well. Where people get stress neck and they get that tension through their headache, through their head. So there is stretches to do that, and it's simply you're pulling your head into your armpit. So if you pull your head looking into your right armpit, you'll feel the stretch on your left hand side.
Would you? So just so I'm on the right thing, because again, I'm trying to make sure that nothing's conflicting. But you always see lads rubbing the back of their necks with, say, the palm of their hand, and they're digging into the side of their neck to relieve that any tension there. Is that completely going the wrong way about it? No, it's not. So when you come to me, what I do is basically, it's like kneading bread. Okay.
To keep it simple, you know, there's a bit of skill behind it. I know I'm making it seem more than it is.
No, go on. Yeah.
But we're mashing the nuts out, you know, and we're giving the body better muscular quality tissue. From there, and you'll be able to stretch it better. And then, I suppose, the last part with the neck is the activation. And it's to get rid of that forward head posture. And we do things called chin tucks, where we push our head in against the wall and tuck our chin in, so our chin nearly disappears into our head. And this is another activation. So you'll notice, like, the original question is, well, what stretches are the best? I've given them, but I've also given the activations that you need to get the most out of all these stretches.
Excellent. Okay, that's cool. Perfect. Brilliant. So then, cool. So in your experience, 4 years going, so heavily experienced, is what are the most common / simple, I'd say, type of injuries you come across?
They're sedentary injuries.
Yeah. Just explain that more. I know what the fuck sedentary means.
Sedentary means we're not moving.
Okay.
So
stagnant, static, I'm not going to use the word lazy, but non-moving injuries.
So let's talk about last week in work and injuries that I had. And there were four clients were coming in. Mm-hmm. Same injury.
Can't name them for GDPR reasons.
Can't name them. Two of them knew each other. Yeah. Two of them different. So there was 3 different CrossFit gyms. Now they're all desk bound.
Okay.
And they all trained in the morning, but they all had the similar injury, and they all had shoulder injuries. Mm-hmm. And the reason behind this is because they're sitting down all day, every day, and then they're going into bed and they're falling asleep in that horrible crunched up position that they had been in all day. Okay. And then they're waking up in the morning and they're expecting their body just to snap in, fire, off we go. But that's not the case, because their body is waking up to get into a seated position.
Okay.
So again, that comes back to undo the day. We have to undo all the sitting. You know, and it kind of brings me into a pet hate of mine
keep going.
About CrossFit and what they've done and what a lot of people in CrossFit have done, and they've done it really well. Now, not dissing CrossFit, there's a lot of stuff I like about it and a lot of stuff I dislike about it. But one of the things that all these clients have done is that they've gotten really strong at being dysfunctional. So they're dysfunctionally strong. They're not strong in the way their body is supposed to be designed. They're strong in poor movement patterns, and they've gotten really good at being strong in poor movement patterns. So they've locked themselves into these limited ranges of movement, not the natural ranges of movement. And then the next thing I suppose a CrossFit do is they ask you to do things that your body is not able to do. So if you think of Olympic lifting is an extremely technical sport. There's so many things that go on in one fraction of time that the normal person sitting at their desk all day, and they go into a CrossFit gym and the instructor's going, okay, we're going to do snatches, we're going to do this. There's so much going on that if you're sitting at a desk all day, to ask your body to do that straight away, and also to ask your body to do that without ever doing it before, you don't do it correctly. And again, you're being dysfunctionally do it, and you get really strong at doing it. So most injuries don't happen through strength, they happen through weakness, and it's the weak link in the chain. And I suppose we've all heard that analogy before. And you're creating more weak links when you're asking your body to do something that it cannot do. Now, I suppose people are going, oh, but then I can't do anything because I'm sitting down all day and I'm going to be stiff all day. But this is where you undo the day, and don't push yourself to do things that you can't do. Your intuition will tell you something that you can't do. Most people don't listen to their intuition.
And as a result, then, how to get to that stage where someone's doing, so he's in a semi-range position and then he's going to do CrossFit, how quick does the body get to that stage of creating weak links or weak chains as such?
It started since we were 5 years old. So I can squat better than my daughter. Okay. So, and the basic squat, most people will say, and it's an Instagram thing, and people go, well, I don't need that range. I don't need to squat to that depth. Well, sorry, but that's a biomechanical, like, genetic. We're supposed to be like that. That's how you take a shit. Okay. You know, so what are you supposed to say? Like 10,000 years ago, sorry, you couldn't shit. You know, so it's all going all down your legs and everything. Well, you know, this is.
But then how do people approach it then when they say, oh well, if you're going down that low, and the pressure on your knees at its full extent, or its full stretch, your knees at full stretch, and you're going down that low, does that cause pressure on the knees when you have that amount of weight on your shoulders?
How does everybody eat their dinner in India?
Oh dear.
They just sit down and they're squatting down. It's called a third world squat.
Okay.
Because first world mobility is we're biomechanically fucked. You know? So you're talking about then loading through that depth. Now, if you can get to that depth, normal, which you should be able to, and you start loading it, you'll get stronger in that range.
But you won't put pressure on. I'm just worried. I'm not worried. I'm just wondering about the pressure you put on the knees when you're trying to come up from that level of depth. Because people say always squat below the point where your arse starts to turn or to curl.
But that's butt wink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but sorry, but so anyway, I'm saying, if you go below that, you're putting savage pressure on your knees, which could cause your knees to, or the joints in your knees to kind of cause an injury. Now, am I right and wrong in saying this, or am I a bit
because if you're
misleaded,
biomechanically dysfunctional, and you're getting your body to do something that it cannot do, that you haven't prepped yourself to do, like your instructor going, well, time for you to do a load of overhead squats, and you're John sitting at your desk all day, and you can't even give someone a high five because your shoulders are so fucking tight. How are you supposed to do an overhead squat? So of course, loading through mechanical disadvantage is going to give you an injury.
Okay,
so this is adding strength to dysfunction.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. So what sports that have you come across are the most injury prone? All of them.
Is
that down to poor technique, bad coaching?
Well, I was trying to think of a sport there the other day where you won't get an injury, and I couldn't come up with one. They're all injury prone, no matter what. If it's repetitive strain, you can get playing chess. You get repetitive strain in your hand, you get carpal tunnel syndrome. You know, I don't know how many people are that avid chess goers,
or admit it.
yeah. But it's true. There's no sport I don't think that you can get injured in. It's all about managing it. Okay, well, how do I manage myself best?
Yeah,
that I can do my sport and not get injured within my control. Now, if someone I'd heard on the news coming in, some footballer got his ankle absolutely ruined. It was like dislocated, broken, dude's fucked. So that's out of your control. There's nothing you can do about that. But what can you do to manage it? And there's lots you can do. And it comes back to mobility.
Yeah, because that was the next the leading question onto that was then what preventative maintenance should we be doing to reduce our injuries?
And it's pretty much kind of similar to what I said, but you're going to come then into very sports specific things. So what does my sport need? What does it involve? What movements do I need? So if you're a very lower dominant sport, well, how much upper mobility do you need? Well, we need some, obviously, because we want to be functioning humans, but you'll need more lower body, you know.
Let's just try and break in a couple of categories anyway, guys. So let's talk about like a gap player.
Yes.
So because he's constantly sidestepping, shifting in the air, going down for the low balls. What type of preventative maintenance should that type of player be doing in the gap player scenario? What would you recommend?
What I find with gap players is that they're really good at turning one direction, and they turn one direction the entire time. So let's say someone is really good, they're pushing off their left foot and they're always going right. Gap players seem to turn one direction a lot of times more than another. So it's about counteracting that and doing almost the opposite. So hips are a huge thing with gap players, and it's something that has been pretty prevalent on Instagram recently with one company. They've been working on gap players predominantly, and they've been talking about hips. And they're not wrong. It's true. The hips are so important in field sports. So it's very hard for me to bring down, just say about gap, because I can also throw a lot of other sports into the same.
Like rugby
thing.
Similar too.
And even coming out of sports and talking about, you know, normal people and bring it back into the person that's sitting down all day, we should all be doing something similar. Then I suppose the next thing then would be training volume. And training volume is very high in sports. Obviously, then we need more mobility and recovery and everything that than someone just your average gym goer. The thing about it is because we're all so uniquely different, And I know that's something that we had talked about before, that there's a lot of talk about equality. Equality and rights is one thing, but because I think it's all society's trying to bring us into being all the same, but we're not.
Never will be.
And we're extremely different. And so when everybody comes into my clinic, I treat them as a blank canvas. I don't go, okay, well, you know, this person is the same as everybody else. Every program I give people is individually tailored to them. And every time I work with someone, it's individual. And even each time they come in, they change, their body changes, because we're constantly evolving and changing. You know, after 7 years, you don't have one cell left in your body.
Yeah.
That's the same. So things change all the time. So it's very hard to be very specific because we change so much.
So you think that a lot of that is a generic, when you say people are selling their own brand and their own expertise or their own knowledge? And what do you think, in your experience, that then people are just getting a generic program as opposed to going in? Is that more popular for people just to sell someone a generic program?
Yes.
In your experience, just getting this generic one for all type job, when in actual fact people should be focusing on their individual goals, what they want, and they're trying and track down the correct people to give them that result.
And even if they don't know what they want, find someone that can tell them what they might need.
Yeah. So it's need over want basis.
Yeah. You know, there's lots of things we need, and then there's lots of things that people want. So what do we need? Well, we need the ability to move freely and easily. And then everything outside of that is what we want.
So how important then, when you take on a client, say a first time client, or even a more experienced, but someone who's been around the gym more, how important then do you focus on the technique over a result more? So like, get the technique down first before you start loading on the weight. How do you drill into someone's head that that's quite important first?
Technique comes back into movement patterns.
Okay.
And I think it brings us back to the start where, you know, John's doing his poor movement pattern and he gets really strong in that movement pattern, and then that causes him an injury because he's really strong in that range of motion where he should be strong in a different range of motion, which is anatomically correct. So technique is extremely important. And there's a few things about technique that kind of, if we were to evolve on that a bit more, and it comes into activation. We've lots of big moving muscles in our body, and then we've lots of small little kind of stabilizing muscles. So it's very important to activate everything in sync. Now, we can't individually activate one muscle on its own. Now, there's a lot of
primary and secondary muscles. Yeah,
that's it. So, but the thing is having enough firing activation in our little stabilizing muscles so that the big muscles can do what they need to do. So if we were to think about the glutes, so glute maximus, massive muscle, huge power output, but it's our glute med that stabilizes that hip. So we need in that firing enough as well. So like also that's so the glute max can do what it needs to do correctly. And then when you're talking about the shoulders, you got your deltoid, big powerful muscle. Now it's all your little rotator cuffs. The four of them will actually hold your ball and socket into the glenohumeral joint. They need to be doing what they need to do as well. They're little stabilizing muscles.
So if someone's saying doing a shoulder press, for example, and they put on, say they load up 18 kilos on either arm, right? For someone who'd be experienced enough, thinking it's a good strong weight to move. Between the sets of doing like a shoulder press where they're going straight up, should they be doing something else to activate that stabilizer muscle?
Yeah, 100%. So when we're talking about the shoulder press, what we need to be thinking about is our shoulder blade. So dysfunctional shoulder blade generally equals a dysfunctional shoulder. So all the rotator cuffs, your four of them, are actually stuck onto your shoulder blade. You've one underneath and you've three on top of it. Also, how that shoulder blade is moving on your back. They're like wings. They need to be moving in sync. And everybody, when people think of their traps, they always think of their big neck. You always think of that wrestler or that rugby player. Well, your traps are huge. They go up into the very top of your neck, right up your hairline, and go down below bra strap. So we need to be thinking about what's happening in that element of the traps through there with your scapula, and we need to get basically the lower fibers firing as opposed to the upper fibers firing.
So for the first initial stages, or even if you are an experienced lifter, guys, it's always good to have someone behind you monitoring your back movements on it, because ultimately one end or one side of your shoulder will develop better than the other because your technique isn't correct.
Well, not necessarily. Okay. It would be you'll have overdevelopment of one side if one side isn't doing the same as the other side, and that comes from habitual issues, so habits. One side tighter than the other. I know we talked about when you were playing rugby years ago, you did one thing more than the other, and you ended up with your shoulder up.
Yeah, actually, I better put that into context. So I used to get trained by my old rugby coach when I was playing, and a lot of weightlifting, and then he fucked off for a 2-week holiday, and then when he came back, I had one side on my right was bigger than my left, and it took about 3 weeks to correct it. But it was an absolute disaster. I'll never do it again, and I'll always listen to people who know more. But going back, Darren, on saying that, how difficult is it to adjust or to rectify that fault if you have one side developing over the other? Like, is there other ways around it? So say if you did make the mistake that I had made, I know for a fact I had to load up the left side and put lighter weight on my right side because my right side's more dominant. But that took about 3 to 4 weeks for that to correct, for me to balance out, because I looked like a fucking... Was your man out of Notre Dame? The hunchback of Quasimodo. I look like Quasimodo. But you learn. That's my mistakes. But I do need to stress that importance of how important it is to focus on the technique, and also how difficult it is to rectify it. And for someone like you, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so okay, let's talk about shoulder press. Let's talk about, okay, what am I going to do before a shoulder press? So what I would do personally is I would do shoulder dislocates, which is a terrible name because they don't actually dislocate your shoulders.
Sounds horrible.
So they'll be like, oh fuck,
cut this podcast now.
You can do them with a band. I actually prefer them to do them with a broomstick. They're a good shoulder warm up. They actually loosen out the pec minor, because in the backward portion of the dislocate, it's stretching out all through the front of anterior delt, the front of your shoulder, and through your chest. So they're really good. So if you did 2 minutes of them, your shoulders be on fire. Okay, like you'll really feel them.
And how worried, or not worried, but when you hear clicks and people are stretching, you hear clicks in the shoulders and joints and stuff, how actually worried should someone be when they hear that type of stuff? Is it okay to let it go, or
it's fine until you load it? Okay.
Yeah. So when you're like, if I'm stretching or whatever, I'm rotating my shoulder, my right side, and I hear clicks as I'm doing a full rotation, is that something that needs to get checked out, or is it something that needs to be corrected, or is it just a case of I'm going to talk crap here, but is it synovial fluid transferring across from one side of the joint to the other?
Generally, when you crack your knuckles, yes, that's the movement of fluid, not air bubbles, like was previously said when we were in school. If you're full of air bubbles, you're probably fucked. What it is, no. For the most part, it's actually your glenohumeral head moving over your acromion arch. So we're talking into anatomy. It's bone and stuff moving around in there, which is fine until you load it. Now, when you start loading clicking shoulders, that's where you start coming into problems, and that's where people start developing bone spurs.
What's a bone spur?
Bone spur is basically if you take a stalagmites and stalactites, it's like that on your bone. It's when it keeps on rubbing, it develops, it tries to repair itself and develops things called bone spurs. And bone spurs, people generally get them in their shoulder and on their heel. And they're called heel spurs. Really common.
That tears in then as you move, that tears into the...
It just starts grinding into the tendons and ligaments.
And ultimately over time, you're going into like a surgery or...
Yeah, they just file it down. They go in, file it down. But you don't want to get to that stage.
No. Let's talk about then the actual impact the body takes in relation to training. So how would you recommend somebody, no matter what type of training they do, is there a certain safety guide and say like, okay, 40 minutes of say weightlifting is enough? Or is there a type of, or like I know you say it's all individual, but is there kind of like a benchmark where you say, look, if you go further past this point, you're actually doing more damage than good? Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, and I suppose if you train 4 days a week,
try to go into the gym anyway. God.
But is every single one of those days 10 out of 10?
No, never. Towards the end of the week, you kind of start to slow down a bit.
Now, I think one of them should be. And this is completely now my own thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it comes back to what we were doing 10,000 years ago. So 6,000 to 7,000 years ago, modern agriculture came on the scene, and they've looked at bones from then, and then they've also looked at our hunter-gatherer ancestors from 10,000 years ago. Now, our hunter-gatherer ancestors were fucking jacked. They were fast, they were strong, they were quick because they needed to be, because they had to climb trees, hunt, run after deer, and like basically that's how we survived. So I feel that we need to be doing, and I wrote a blog on it, 1 day a week we push ourselves to these limits that almost emotionally affect us. And the reason behind this is, and I feel, if you're running after a deer or you're hunting an animal and you didn't catch it, you're all dead. And you're putting emotion into it. Now the rest of the days you have your deer, you're fed for a week, so everything is sub-maximal from there. You're 8 out of 10s, you're 6 out of 10s, because training is an adaptation. So we're putting our body under pressure, under force, and our body adapts to it.
Tension,
So you can't adapt if you're doing something 10 out of 10 the whole time. That's, people call it, some people say there's no such thing as overtraining, under eating. No, you can't overtrain. Your central nervous system will tell you. And that's where a lot of injuries can happen as well. And it's through fatigue. We're getting tired, we're making mistakes, and also like mentally tired.
And how do you combat that? So you do your 3 days of standard training, and in your 4th day you push yourself to a limit where you're more or less crying you don't want to do it anymore. What's the quickest way to recover from that? So how do you recover? I mean, plenty of sleep, plenty of water. How would you?
Active recovery. Always keep moving. So active recovery for me is just a simple walk, doing something.
If someone has a very heavy leg session day, and we all, and including myself, we all try to avoid it. But the next day you don't really feel it. But then the second day you do, and you can barely get out of the car or walk upstairs, and you just don't want to do it. You're just saying go for that longer walk, do a lap of the town, and then your body then will ultimately adjust.
That's it. So that's called DOMS, and it's called delayed onset muscle soreness. So the common perception is that that's lactic acid. So what science tells us is that lactic acid doesn't hang around actually for that long. It gets converted from the blood from lactate into pyruvic acid through the liver. So it's not, that soreness isn't lactate. That's actually an inflammatory response. Your body telling you, whoa, don't do that again. We need time to recover. So listen to your body. So that's where you're 10 out of 10 and you're dropping it back down to a 6 out of 10 again for your next session then 2 days later. So if you're hitting another 10 out of 10, you're just amplifying that inflammatory response again.
By going 10 out of 10 or even over stressing the body, you won't see the results. You have to be smart about it. You're not going to see the results straight away by doing it that way. You need to be clever about it and say, right, I'm going to push myself, and then I'm going to go, the next time I'm training, I'm going to go a little bit less. But probably just in this segment, it's probably important to tell people that by going 100% all the time, you're actually going to do yourself more damage than you will do good.
It's like driving your car in first gear every year. How long is it going to last?
Not very long.
No.
Not very long.
No.
Okay.
It sounds great. It looks awesome. You're making lots of noise.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last that long.
So tell me then, that the new ways of exercising, is there anything out there? Is there any new trends? I noticed that on your Instagram, you tend to train a lot outside.
It's just connecting with nature.
Yeah, that's a trigger for you. Makes you feel good.
It's not just me that it makes it feel good. I mean, like, that's where we come from. You know, we're in concrete jungles all the time, under fluorescent lights the whole time. So, you know, I think everybody knows that you create vitamin D from the sun. So I don't know if everybody
Sorry,
knows
that science wasn't
do you
brought
know
to
that?
you by anybody. Yeah, no, I did.
Yeah. So you're outside and your body's creating vitamin D, from the sun. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that you create vitamin D from UVB rays. Now, UVB rays are only above, latitude 30 something for 2 to 3 months of the year. So we're up at 53 degrees north. And out of those 2 to 3 months of the year, which is summer, June to August, how much of that time are we spending outside? Well, not that much time. So we don't even have that much vitamin D production. I've lost my trail of thought. It comes back into
Okay, so going spending more. So we should be pushing ourselves
to be outside
more. And it's more walking. It's hiking. It doesn't necessarily mean people have to be training more outside. Or even if you did say body exercises, push-ups, squats, jumping jacks. Is it that type of exercises they should be doing outside, just to be outside because getting more oxygen in, or just get out of your comfort zone, get out of the gym indoors and get outside and enjoy?
Hike.
We're
We're so close to everything in Ireland. I don't think there's any place in Ireland where you can't drive half an hour and be a greenery. If you're in the centre of town in Dublin.
So just name a couple of spots people can look up. Where would you find?
Wicklow's a pretty big spot.
Yeah, Wicklow's. Yeah, it was quite good.
Point your finger at something in Wicklow and go there. Like if you go into type in Wicklow walks, there's pages that will actually tell you turn up at this car park, walk around here. It'll take you 3 hours, and you get back here. I mean,
Kerry's beautiful too for a weekend away and go across into the national park there. They're quite level. Would you say to people go for the longest hike or the challenging hike? Like the longest one, like could be 10 kilometers long, or it could be flat 10 kilometers long, or is it better to go for something that has 5 kilometers with a bit of incline, a bit of decline? Is that better?
I mean, if you can even get into a park like Marley, Bushy, the Phoenix, do a 2K walk,
start there.
I mean, you're just being outside. Get off your phone.
Do you think you're spending long times on your phone?
Oh, huge amount of time on your phone. Yeah. It's affecting us massively. Look at the amount of kids on phones, not looking where they're going, crossing the road, staring at their phones.
Yeah, fucking look left and right, okay? You did a talk how long ago on real world mobility?
So I did a talk in July down in Cork in front of a couple hundred people.
How did that go?
That scared the absolute fucking shit out of me.
How's this going?
Oh, terrifying. And it actually ended up being comical because I was so anxious about it. I wrote all my slides down on little flashcards. And I got out, of course, and dropped all the fucking flashcards on the ground. So I was picking them up and I was changing slides, and I was like, oh, that's number one. Oh, number one doesn't go with that. Okay, I need to find another thing. So I added a bit of comedy to it, but it all comes back to what I was talking about at the start, and the ability to be able to get into a squat, and that is real world mobility.
Okay.
And we need mobility now, so I'm 33 now and I'm working on it constantly, and I don't get it right all the time, and I get injured, just like everybody. But you learn from your mistakes, and we grow and we keep on moving.
So the vast majority of people, it's fair to say, have corporate desk jobs, not much movement throughout the day.
100%.
Maybe an hour at lunch to walk out, grab a sandwich, come back, eat at the desk, not much of a canteen, that type of spec, right? The real world mobility is the fact that is it a case of, right, I go in, do my 8 hours, and then I'm expecting my body, as soon as I get into the gym, to perform dynamically.
Yeah, because of something we might have seen or how we perceive ourselves to be.
Yeah, and then that would cause what's the best way to come out of that real world mobility where you spend 8 hours in a chair and you hunch forward and stuff, prior to taking on any exercise? Because that's probably more or less where that gap where people need to focus on before they start using, say, Olympic squats, deadlifts, bench presses, before they even get into that stage. Prior to doing any of that, is there something that they should be doing?
Undo the day.
Yeah.
Stretch.
Mash,
stretch, activate. Foam roll, stretch, activate. Do your gym. Again, what are you out of 10? Don't be, if you're not feeling up to it, don't do your 10 out of 10. Work out that day. I suppose we were talking about a point there just before that I wanted to
come back on. Yeah,
elaborate on. Yeah. But I can't remember.
That's all right.
What point it was.
That's fine. So, there's no real. We don't have a template for this fucking thing anyway. Right. When you do remember, come back to me. Okay, and we'll talk about it. But what are the core fundamental foods that we should be putting into our diet every day?
Eat something green with every meal.
Okay. Broccoli, spinach. So I like spinach, green beans, mange tous, asparagus. Asparagus is good. Asparagus is a prebiotic. It actually helps your probiotics, your microbiome. Okay. It's really good. Do you want to explain that for someone on the fucking talk? Say that again.
Okay, so our gut is more powerful than we could possibly imagine. It's nuts. And our gut is directly connected to our brain. Now, they've only found this out recently. It's called gut-brain axis.
Where did you find that information?
You just type it into Google, you type in gut-brain axis, and it's there. Okay. It's a real thing.
Gut-brain axis, okay.
Gut-brain axis. So there's a little... some people might say that, are we hosting the bacteria in our gut? Or are we a host for them?
Okay.
Because if we don't have them, we die.
Yeah.
But if they don't have us, they find a new host.
It's a complex relationship that
really complex. Like, they're even talking about now, the foods that you crave are actually the bacteria in your gut telling you that you need these foods. So they're incredibly powerful. Also, most of our serotonin, I think it's like 80%. Don't quote me on that. Serotonin is the feel-good hormone. It's produced in our gut. So our gut is massively important. So a probiotic, when you buy it in a pharmacy, is normally 8 to 10 different strains, different types of bacteria that help our gut. So when I'm talking about a prebiotic, like a asparagus, that's something that helps feed it. It's like food for them. So it really helps multiply them, keeps the good ones there, and tries to get rid of the bad ones by not feeding them as much.
So it's best thing. So green, so peas. So guys, just to try and do a list here. So you got peas, you got broccoli, you got spinach.
If it's green,
put it in. Yeah.
If it's green, eat it. Yeah. So I suppose a lot of people, when people think about greens and vegetables and all, we're talking about vitamins and minerals. But what we're recently finding out now in science is not just those that are good for us. It's other things called phytochemicals in them. So just like training is a stimulus for our body, it's hard for our body. You know, when we weight train, we actually break muscle tissue down and the body has to adapt and rebuild it. So just as when we eat vegetables, they're actually a stressor on our body as well. So plants produce these things called phytochemicals that stops bugs eating them. So they're kind of poisonous. Now, bear with me for a minute. Insects and all, but when we consume them, our body has stress responses to it that actually make us stronger because we're eating them.
Very good. And eat your greens. So cool. Supplements. Would you encourage supplements, and what type of supplements would you encourage people to take?
Well, just because we were talking about the vitamin D, and we don't get enough time outside, so we don't get enough vitamin D, especially during the winter months of the year. So if you know about SADS, what is this? Seasonal adjustment disorder. So you get fucking sad because we're not out in the sun. It's dark earlier, and we need vitamin D. So vitamin D has over 1,000 different gene functions in the body. It switches things off and it turns things on. It's extremely powerful. It's so powerful that it's basically a hormone. That's how powerful it is. In fact, it actually gets converted into a hormone in the liver. It's pretty incredible. So we need to be taking that. Now, I think everybody should be taking 5,000 units a day. Now, it might seem like a lot, but anecdotally, from people I know getting blood tested, they're taking 5,000 units a day, and their blood tests are coming back that they actually could take even a bit more vitamin D into their body. So
do you recommend? Sorry. So is that?
Let's start with 5,000 IU's a day.
And what is that? How is that? An hour in the sun or outside, or what is that?
I've no idea.
Okay, but it's 5,000 is the benchmark.
5,000 is what you need to be taking supplement wise. We're Irish, we don't get a whole lot of sun. We're pasty as fuck, and we're spending all our time inside anyway. So like, when was the last time you got an hour of sun, except for being on holidays?
No, it just rains all the time. One thing we'll go back on that we didn't touch on when we are in the gym. How important is the equipment that we're wearing in the gym, so the likes of footwear, when it comes to doing squats and stuff, how actually important is it for someone when they're going in to actually have that correct equipment on them?
I'm a barefoot advocate.
Okay. So you wouldn't recommend wearing footwear being runners or when you are squatting?
I prefer a flat base. Now, that's just me.
Okay.
Because I like being grounded and feeling the ground. Our feet are like hands, you know, and putting our feet into shoes and socks all day, our feet lose the ability to do what they're supposed to do. If you go into Google and type in natural feet, you'll get a load of pictures up and they look like monkey feet, but they're not. It's an anthropologist went out into the forest or the jungle and started taking pictures of people's feet that live disconnected from the world with no shoes, and their feet are incredible.
Just spread.
And they'd be picking things up their feet, putting it into their hands, because we are evolved from, you know, I think, is it chimps? You know?
Yeah. And okay, brilliant. So, but you're really passionate about flexibility and using the body, all aspects of the body,
because it's normal.
Yeah,
you know,
why have we gotten to the stage where we like structured workouts, whereas how come we're not focusing on flexibility?
I don't know.
Yeah,
this is the thing, because the reason most people work out, I feel, is, and look, you know, I'm guilty of it as well. I like to look better.
There you go. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good about myself. I used to do it for other people, but now I do it for me. And I think, especially with, it's not just social media influence. You go back 20 years, there was magazines with people that everybody wanted to be like, and that's a big thing. So it'd be great for people to change tact a small bit. Yes, looking great is good. It makes you feel good, but not that be your primary focus. Primary focus being, well, how do I feel and move like a better human? You know, and is this how humans are supposed to be, moving as much as they do? Because we're built to move. We've over 360 joints of body, over 700 muscles.
It's cool because you see a lot of people on social media or Instagram, because that's probably the only reason where most people now can get their information, because I don't think anyone's picking up a magazine anymore, but they're all on very stringent one movement type exercises, and then it's nice to be able to come around and have a different point of view and say, well, actually no, you should be looking at being flexible and being adaptable more so than actually trying to just put on just straight weights, bench press, deadlift, squat, and leave it at that. It's actually quite cool to hear someone say, actually no, be flexible because it's normal, or it's what we should be doing initially. Yeah. Cool, let's make this a little bit interesting. What mistakes did you make coming up? What did you learn?
I don't think we have enough time. I've made so many, and I keep on making them.
Yeah.
But isn't that life?
Isn't that what I learned about? Just give us an example of the time when you had something that you were like, oh shit, I fucked up there. Do you have any?
Oh my God. What have I done? So I suppose I've had I did both my shoulders.
Okay.
Back in 2011, like fucked them up. One was gone for 7 months, the other was gone for 5 months. So I had a year where I got really good at squatting. That's how I got really fucking good at squatting, because I couldn't do much with my shoulders. So I think what I learned then was that the small things make the big things better. And by the small things, I mean when I prescribe exercises for people to do for shoulders and they're boring rotator cuff exercises, and yes, they're fucking boring, and you have some bodybuilders coming in and they're 120 kilos and they're jacked and they're shoulder pressing to 60s, and you're like, just grab this little 2 kilo and we're going to do these little external rotations.
Here we go.
It's fucking boring, but you know, it's the basic shit that makes the small stuff makes the big stuff better. And I wish I knew that back then, because I wouldn't be as jacked up not in a muscular way, as in a damaged way. I'm not that bad. I'm actually being able to repair my injuries from the past now, knowing what I know. There you go.
So there you go, guys. A bit of advice is just make sure that whenever you do start off on something, you start small.
Yeah,
start small. Let's go on to the actual social media aspect, and I just want to get your opinion on, I have it kind of laid out as social media good or misleading. What are you actually seeing out there that people need to look at with a critical eye yourself?
What I think we are is more naive than we've ever been. And it all comes to platforms, huge platforms. You got Netflix, Facebook, Instagram. If we talk about Facebook, they basically changed the voting of America to vote Trump in. You have Russia making face apps, and everybody's like, oh, look old. Well, sorry, now all the Russians have your email address and they know what you look like. You have people saying that I should be wearing a tinfoil hat because of how I speak about social media. But what you post up on Instagram, your emotions, your feelings, the algorithms know you better than you know yourself. You have Game Changer coming out on Netflix and all this, nutritionally naive, think it's the way forward. It's just, it's outrageous what's happening in social media. We are so naive that we have now people that might be 21 years old that have no life experience, that are in the gym, and suddenly they're influencers. They're influencing you in what you like, how changing your mind, it's not like mind control, but like people need to be able to make up their minds themselves, but they're being influenced by things. I think it's powerfully bad, but also powerfully good in the sense that I'm trying to promote a bit of a message about movement.
That's why you're here.
You're trying to promote a message about don't listen to the bullshit. There's bullshit out there. There's lots of positive things about it, but it's getting drowned out by, pictures of abs, pictures of asses, and basically smoke and mirrors.
I think it's quite important as well for when people are looking at any type of Instagram account. And it was Ben from the Chaos Gym in the first episode he says, look at things with a critical eye, and if they're watch out for the people who are actually trying to help you, and watch out for the people who are actually trying to take money out of your pocket.
People need to stop looking at people going, I'd like to be like them. As in, why don't you want to be like you, but make parts of you possibly better? And they might be doing something that you like. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself.
Very good. I like that. That's it. Actually, that was my next bit of saying. So what would be the advice for young people? And essentially, be yourself.
It's really hard, especially when you're young, to find out who you are. And it does take time. And if you go back to a scientific point of view, your prefrontal cortex doesn't fully form until they're between the ages of 28 and 32. So if you're below 28, technically, your decision making isn't as good as someone in their 30s. So be careful about who you're following and who is influencing you.
Excellent. Just before we wrap it up, Darran, you're training yourself. Do you like to mix things up a bit, or do you have something that you like to consistently stick on? Where are you at now in your own fitness journey?
So I suppose I like powerlifting because it's very unassuming. It's like taking the badges off at M5. Looks like a normal car until you put the foot down and people are like, what the fuck is that? Holy shit.
Do you want to race?
Yeah. So you don't have to be incredibly muscular to be incredibly strong. And I kind of like that. I also like the fact that it's very dynamic. It uses a lot of different rep ranges, and also it makes you stronger because it brings it back to that weak link. I've never known anybody get injured through their strong points. They always get injured through the weak points, and it seems to hit a lot of those. And it also involves me having to do more mobility to get more out of my training, and also to stay injury free because the weights used are quite heavy,
Quite heavy.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's just we're going to finish up here shortly, guys. But what's your hobbies outside? Do you have any?
Yeah, I sail.
You sail?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
I've been sailing over half my life now. God, more than that because I'm older than what I thought.
Sailing?
Yeah, I'm a sailor. So,
can you swim?
Oh yeah.
Just sailing. Who do you sail with?
I sail down in the National Yacht Club in Dunleary. So we sail on a boat. There's about 7 or 8 of us, and we sail as a team. Racing's normally on summer during a Thursday and a Saturday. Yeah, big enough. Like there's no professional paid crew or anything.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. It's all there's a lot of a lot for stake on that line.
Excellent stuff. Darran, I was just going to say, Dads, just for this last segment there, I was just going to say, if we wanted to, if Darran have time, is do you want to go over a couple of stretches in relation to the neck, shoulder, arms, abdominal area, hips, thighs, calves and ankles.
Okay.
Is that okay? Let's start off then with the neck. And what should people do in relation to the neck? One of the misconceptions is I only recently went to a physiotherapist and I was actually rotating my neck to relieve tension. That's a no-go area, he was saying. He said, look up, look down, look left, look right. And hold it in each of those positions for 10 seconds. Is that correct?
So there's a great exercise and it's called CARS. It's controlled articulate rotations. So that means moving any joint in a rotational pattern. If you were to hold two weights, we'll say 10 kilos by your side, let the shoulders drop, pin back the shoulders and actually work your neck through rotations, then I find it really good because you're stretching through load. Works really well, actually.
Excellent stuff. Your shoulders?
Shoulders, go to our shoulder dislocates. I mean, they're just good. Anybody can do them. Everybody's got a broomstick at home. And then activate your back through some kind of a row. I mean, we'll keep it simple.
Excellent. Arms.
Generally, arms don't get too jacked up from the elbow up, but from the elbow down, we find a lot of issues because of the amount of typing we're doing. So what's really good actually, and you could do yourself, is self-massage. If you get a teaspoon, hold onto the handle and put your thumb into the cup of it, you get a bit of oil in your arm, you can actually get the corners of the spoon into the awful gross junk in your forearms and mash them out yourself.
Very good.
If it hurts, you're doing it right.
Oh, very, very good.
I take no legal obligations for people hurting themselves with that.
Excellent. It went through my arm. The abdominal area.
Side plank.
Okay.
Because it's very hard to fuck up.
How long would you hold the side plank for?
Just do 30 seconds each side twice.
What? I was hoping 10. Very good. Hips and waist area.
The hips kind of come back into that couch stretch. Is great for the quads. Lizard lunge is great for just general hips, and then just activate with a bridge. I mean, it's really simple.
All 30 seconds.
Okay, so when we're talking about stretches, for the first 30 seconds, your body hasn't a fucking clue what's going on. For the second 30 seconds, your body's kind of going, okay, I think we're in a bit of a stretch here. So that last minute, when we hold a stretch for 2 minutes, is when you get the most stretch response. So I do all my stretching with my clients for 2 minutes, and they hate me, and they're looking at the timer and going, fucking, that's a long 2 minutes.
So it's 2 minutes per one stretch.
Yeah.
So it's 30 seconds on the first round.
First 30 seconds, your body doesn't know what's happening.
Oh, so sorry. Yeah. You're not breaking up. You're just doing 2 minutes.
2 minutes solid.
Solid. Okay, solid. Sorry. I thought it was 30 seconds as the first step.
Yeah.
The next set is you go 45, and then the third set, so you do 2 minutes. You're saying hold it for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Whole way stretch for 2 minutes.
Why were growing up when playing Gaelic football and like that, any type of stretches you do, you'd only hold it for 10 to 15 seconds?
Because everybody's standing in a circle and everybody wants to get out playing rugby quick.
Okay. So
and also
we're doing it wrong.
Because they didn't know.
Okay. Your thighs
are your quads. Couch stretch. Go to. It's easy. It's really good. If it's painful, you're doing it right.
Perfect. Calves.
There's a really good stretch. I actually have.
Any point in stretching them?
Yeah, because that comes back to another half an hour talk about ankle dorsiflexion.
Okay, I'll have you on again. Don't worry, come back. Good.
So
yeah, for the calf, sorry.
So if you go into YouTube and type in DBR therapy, I actually have a couple of videos up on YouTube, and 2 of them are 2 calf stretches.
Excellent stuff.
Using a door frame, so everybody's got one of them at home.
Excellent. And ankles.
Ankles comes into the calves. So tight calves, generally poor ankle mobility.
Excellent. Guys, we're just going to wrap it up. Darran, thanks for coming on. That's great.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. And will you just please tell everyone again how to get in contact with you?
Okay, so I'm on the interweb on www.dbrtherapy.ie. My phone number is 083 1888 628. So if you need an appointment, you can text me, WhatsApp through there. Emails on the website as well. The big one though is the social media on Instagram. It's at dbrtherapy.ie. I'm on Facebook, don't really use it, so find me on Instagram.
Have you got anything coming up?
Nothing major, but just a couple of corporate talks, basically talking about people sitting all day.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff, guys. Look forward to it. Check out DBR Therapy on Instagram, Facebook. As Darran said, he emailed his contact details are all on the start of the podcast and at the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. It's been Eamon here, getting amongst it. Thank you very much. And that's it, guys. That wraps up episode 2 of Getting Amongst It. I'd like to thank Darran for his time and effort of coming out today and speaking. Should you have any follow-up questions, please get in contact with him on his Instagram page at dbrtherapy.ie. You can catch him on Facebook. He also has a blog where he's updates it as much as he can at www.dbrtherapy.ie. As always, guys, just a reminder, the whole reason for this podcast is to strong arm you guys in relation to the truth, science, the facts. Let's talk about it. Let's get amongst it. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share. Should you think we should cover something else, I'll do my best to get it. But like always, thank you for listening. This has been Eamon, and this has been Getting Amongst It.